You were
American
the
championship.
you were the champion 5 or 6 times.
Yes, five or six times, and that's just gold. Not talking silver or bronze, just gold. And
Right.
then and then Pan American Championship 5 times. 17-time national champion. So there's I mean, I've won European.
17-time national champion.
Great. I beat two world champions at a U.S. Open for my weight category, and in my and current world champions, not but current. They just won. And
Miss Cheryl Murphy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Great to see you. You're looking wonderful.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. How's your day been so far?
It's been pretty good. I had to teach this morning actually, and actually it was pretty good. I taught this morning. I had two new kids, one just regular. She's like great, and then I had a lot of people in the teen and adult class, and I have my oldest adult is 80, and
Holy
he
smokes.
does everything that everybody else does. I mean, a bit modified, but he doesn't. Oh, I can't do it. No, he does everything.
Yeah, great, great. How did you first get into karate?
My mom had me in everything, name it, and she put me in it. So this was just like the back end of most of the stuff that she put me in. So she had me in piano, she had me in dance, and like four different types of dance. She had me in gymnastics. So this just was an added bonus, I guess, to her just keeping me busy.
Yeah. What was it about karate that resonated more than any of the other activities?
I think what stayed the longest was dance and karate. That's what
Mm,
stayed the longest. And
mm,
then I think karate just ended up taking over because then I was able to work with my instructor. Then I started competing. So I really had to kind of pick. And I was going to school. So it was a matter of what happened and kind of pushed me towards that path. But I missed it. I was dancing. Yeah, I was dancing and doing karate at the same time for a while. And then I would still try to keep up with it, maybe not as often of going to dance, but then again, life just kind of spiraled and I had to, I don't want to say pick, it just, I couldn't go to the dance classes. So I didn't go to dance. I was
yeah.
just, doing karate and working and or going to school and then competing and it all just kind of snowballed. And so that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough sport, and I've seen you practice and just the rigor with that. So you started fairly young. What was it that you kept coming back for more and more? What was that motivation?
You know what? I've been asked that a lot and I don't know. I think I'm a little weird in that part of it. It's just what I had to do. I just went. Like, it's kind of like me going to college. I went knowing that I was elementary, junior high, college. Like, it was just what it was. So I went to karate because that was part of my schedule.
Mm,
Um, and then and I guess part of it may have been the family being family oriented. We would go on trips. We would do like different events. So that definitely was a pull. Then the competing and traveling was always good. Um, and for whatever reason, even though karate wasn't in the Olympics, I after college I came back home and was like, Sensei, I want to go to the Olympics. And that was whatever that meant in between that. If it ever made the Olympics, okay, if it didn't make the Olympics, I was still on the path to that. Uh, so I don't know. I wish I had like a specific answer, but it just was, just like you breathe. It just that's what I did.
yeah. Was it you enjoyed the workouts? You enjoyed, you know, sweating and throwing and kicking and
I
the training
wouldn't
leading up to
say,
that and the sense of accomplishment after winning. Just a little bit of everything.
yeah, I think it was a little bit of everything. Did I enjoy training and working out? I don't know. I enjoyed the outcome of it, right? I enjoyed how I felt afterwards. I enjoyed um, when I would go to compete and then I would do well. I'd be on the
Yeah, that's always
podium,
fun. Yeah.
right? Yeah, right. But at the same time, like I would lose and it would just be a nightmare. But then the drives, I gotta go back. What did I do? Okay, I gotta go back. Got to figure this out. Um, it may have just been the entire experience,
That's
just all of
interesting.
it.
What you just said, as far as when there was the occasional defeat, and then it wasn't, obviously with
You're
any
nice.
serious athlete. Say again.
Occasional. I said you're nice with the occasional defeat. You're nice, but go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Just different people handle stumbling blocks a little bit differently, and so it
Mhm.
sounds as though you know, got the defeat out of your system and then circled back and all right, what went wrong? What do we? How can I improve? What? Tell me a little bit about that. If like you put yourself in one of the matches that you lost, and as devastating
Mhm.
as it was, then how'd you recover?
Right. It was definitely I hated. Not that anybody likes to lose, but I was definitely like if I lost, I didn't speak to anybody for like 2 weeks, which is kind of interesting. Side note, it was interesting because I heard that about Serena and Venus as well. Like they would just like not involve themselves with people after they lost. So, and I heard that like after my my episode of that, I think that may have happened for like a couple of years, but then
Mm,
afterwards I would kind of work through it.
mm,
That being said, I would try and figure out what the issue was, and then I would train that. Um, then I would train it. So, for
yeah,
example, I would get kicked in the head a lot. And then so I had to figure out how I'm like, okay, this is getting out of hand. Like, how do I fix this? And I had to really figure it out on my own. So I broke it down into what are the kicks that I keep getting caught with? How can I defend against them and or utilize them? So I broke it down to, and I say back to white belt just because we're talking karate, but I would
sure,
bring it back to beginners. So I would tell whoever what I was working out with at the time was Mr. Gauntlet. I remember this, and I said, okay, you are going to attack me with a back leg roundhouse kick. You're going to attack me with a front leg roundhouse kick, and that would be specific, like mid kick or high kick. You're going to attack me with a back leg hook kick, a back leg. Like it was just very specific until I was really comfortable with that. And then once I got comfortable with that, in deciding how I was going to defend against it, so then it was very specific and meticulous. I would practice that, and then I would, go up a notch. Okay, you can only attack me with either back leg or front leg roundhouse kick. So then now I had to, it wasn't so easy. I had to kind of figure it out, um, and be able to then just react to what's happening. And I would do the same thing with like other kicks. So then I would just literally make sure to just train that, and then it would just go up, further and further, more difficult, more
mm,
challenging, just in different ways.
yeah.
You have to
You're
break the
discovering your
habit,
own.
right?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. You're discovering your own blind spots, your own weaknesses, and then okay,
Mm,
how do I improve on that weakness? Which is
right. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I don't, a lot of people do that, but a lot of people don't cater to their
Right.
strengths and
And I think for me, it was more challenging in me trying to figure it out as opposed to someone uh, really giving a plan. Okay, these are your weaknesses, Cheryl. This is what we want to work on. So a lot of stuff I had to kind of figure out on my own. Though I definitely had support, from my instructor. But certain things because he wasn't there all the time, like me
mm,
competing in like international European. He would be there for like Pan American stuff, but not
yeah,
European. And
mm,
so I had to, kind of take a step back and kind of figure those things out myself,
mm,
or looking at other people, or even having conversations sometimes with my teammates, and you know, and figuring those things out.
yeah, yeah. That's great. Um, you mentioned competition and whatnot. What are some of the forums you've competed in? Your accomplishments, medals, awards, all that good stuff.
I competed at the U.S. Open in Las Vegas. I want to say 5 or 6 time champion. I've competed in Pan
You were
American
the
Championship.
you were the champion 5 or 6 times.
Yes.
Okay.
It took. Now, see, the thing is, I say this, but it took a while for me to get to be consistent. It wasn't like, hey guys, I'm here, and it took a while. Once I got there, it was more consistent, but it definitely took a minute for me to be. that successful. I would hit things every so often and then like crash at other ones. So but nevertheless, yes, 5 or 6 times. And that's just, gold. Not talking silver or bronze, just gold. And
Right.
then and then Pan American Championship 5 times. Um not including team either, team silver or gold, but just 5 times. Pan American Games, I got a bronze. World Combat Games, I got a silver and a bronze. World Games, I got a bronze. And then two World Championship women's team bronze. History was made definitely for the first one, and then we made it again when we got the second one. And I just happened to be blessed to be part of both of them, so that was pretty cool. And 17-time national champion. So there's I mean, I've won European.
17-time national champion.
And
Okay.
that's inclusive of um my weight division and open. So yeah, so there's no open now, so that may change in I guess records, but now that's how I got 17. It was my weight category as well as the open division, and I won.
Gotcha.
I've gotten a couple of medals European too, Copenhagen, German Open. I was at the a couple of bronze medal rounds, so yeah.
Wow. What's it like? So, do you get, a month off from work and you get to, hang out in
No,
Rio de Janeiro and have fun, relax, and
I was not uh, privileged with being able to do that all the time. I was not. I was working part time and going to school at one point, and then I retired a couple times. I make the joke. There's a football player that kept retiring, and not the most recent one. This is Brett Favre, I think his name is. Yeah. So I'm not into football. I'm not a individual sport person. So excuse me, but I think it was Brett Favre, right? So I remember seeing like he constantly kept retiring, and then that was like exactly my career. I kept retiring. I'm like I'm done, and then I would just be pulled back in. So um, what were we talking about? Sorry.
just as far as the different victories you had, and then also if you were kind of funded or if you would, if you were
Right.
competing in Germany,
So
you had,
yeah.
2 weeks to train over there and adjusted the time zones and
Right. No. So initially, like for like a Pan American or US team event, initially we actually would they would take the team out and go see whatever country we were in. And then after a while, that wasn't the case. You were kind of on your own, and that kind of isolated me out because I didn't have the money to do to go and see everything.
right.
I didn't. I just didn't have that. So um, I did work part time, and again did go to school. Um, and whatever trips that we went on, I went on the trip. If we were able to go out and do stuff, great. Normally did not, or I would go out and have dinner, but I wasn't able to really see a lot.
Yeah.
But there were some places I was able to see. Like I got to see China a little bit. I got to climb the Great Wall. That was crazy. I
Nice.
got to see a little bit of Italy. I got to see. I mean, there's some Japan I got to see, which is great. But there's the amount of countries I've been to in comparison to the amount of countries I've been able to enjoy. There's
Yeah.
no comparison. There really isn't. I didn't get to see a lot of countries, just in the fact that it's a lot of finances. I couldn't take off a lot from work, and
Yeah.
then when I retired and then came back because I was trying to go for the Olympics,
Hmm.
I was working a corporate job, and that was already stressful. So then having to compete and try to figure, oh, I gotta go back to work, or if people were calling me or emailing me saying Cheryl, and I'm like, oh, so yeah, it wasn't not always. And then I would go back to work. I would go straight back to work. Sometimes I would fly straight from work, go straight into weigh-ins, and then the next day I would compete. Um, and then after I was done competing, I would leave the competition and go to the airport. Like it was crazy for a little while. It was definitely crazy for a little
That
while.
sounds like it.
Yeah. Mhm. But I
Wow.
wouldn't I wouldn't trade it. It was I people like me at the time, people like me, didn't get to see some of the countries or travel to some of the countries that I've been able to. I'm on my second, passport. You know what I mean? So
Holy
now it's a
smokes.
little bit now it's a little bit different. And it's
Right.
interesting because initially when I went to Dubai, maybe I went to Dubai a few times, maybe three or four
Okay.
times. And the initial time that I went, there weren't too many people that look like me traveling. And I'm black female. I'm walking around seeing if anybody looks like me, right? But there isn't. Then by the end of my career, it would be groups of people where I can see, oh, great, they're enjoying these types of countries. This is great. So, um, yeah,
And you're talking about there were in the beginning you were the solo representative, and then towards the end there were groups of fellow athletes that were with you. You're talking about just the internet, just travelers in
just
general.
just travelers in general, just
Yeah.
travelers in general. But there were a lot of times where it was just me as a U.S. representative. There were definitely a
Wow.
lot of times where it's just me. I mean, even in like training camps. There was a training camp in Lake Placid where it was just me in the building. I mean, just there was no workers, nothing, no workers that looked like me, no other athletes that were in Lake Placid, is the U.S. Olympic Training Center, that looked like it was just. I was like, wow. And then it was like, oh, let's go out. I'm like, I'm in Lake Placid. Like, I don't know. In my mind, I didn't
Right.
never really say, but in my mind, I'm like, oh, geez. So we went out, and then I'm looking to make sure there's anybody else. There was one other person in another building where we went out to, I guess, to hang out. There was one other person, and I was like, okay, well, if anything goes down, at least I got somebody to look at. You know what I mean? So, um, honestly, that's really what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty incredible list of victories and competitions. Did any of them kind of stand out in your mind more than any others, or I guess, are any more meaningful to you than any of the others? Are you really, really proud of any particular medal or any particular competition?
I've had, I can't even deny it. I've had a few. I've had a few. Like I said, the women's team. I was on the first one that we were able to medal ever,
That's
male
great.
or female,
That's
and then we
really
did it
cool.
again, and I happened to be part of it again. The maybe the third worlds after that. So that was great. I beat two world champions at a U.S. Open for my weight category, and in my and current world champions, not but current. They just won, and then I was able to win in both of those categories. There's a lot. Copenhagen, um, talking about like struggling and money, and I didn't have enough money to pay rent, and I
Mm.
called my sensei. I was like, Sensei, could you please help me? And he ended up taking care of it. I won that tournament. Like, and we were. It was a tough that trip was tough because we were like trying to figure out how to get places. We were walking far. I was already tired. I was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
but I was able to pull it out. Let's see. I mean, there's a few, to be honest,
Yeah.
that I just had. As I'm looking back, I had a pretty decent career considering. So yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just the fact that you were training, you're competing, you're going to school, and you're working all at the same time. It's like,
at
some
one
days I have
point,
I have
yeah.
trouble just getting out of bed.
Oh, talk to me. But that's where I'm at now. Okay, I'm like, oh,
Right.
I don't want to do nothing. And then I know like people try to figure out like why I just don't wanna, because for 20 years I was ripping, and I say 20 years from my competitive career, but since I was a kid, like,
Yeah.
I went to school an hour and a half away from, like, I got bused. Like, I was in Southside Jamaica, I got bused to Bayside, I got bused to Douglaston. So, and then I had to get busy afterwards. I was always,
Yeah.
always kind of go, 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 go. And so now I just, it takes a lot for me to do
Yeah.
anything. So,
Yeah.
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 So I
Yeah. Yeah.
understand. I get it. That's where I'm at right now. I don't want to.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of time management and just discipline that you've learned over the years. I'm curious to what extent does any of that, or in addition to that, other skills translate into what you're currently doing, business or lifestyle, or any life lessons that you've kind of learned over the years.
Life lessons. Don't let anyone tell you you can't, even if they do everything they can to prevent you from doing it. So that's a really big thing. Make sure your circle is tight. Make sure your circle is tight because you're gonna need people to believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself to just get
Mm.
you over that hump of things. So
Mm.
yeah, so make sure you have a tight circle. So with moving on into my, I guess, next phase of my life, right? Um, Starting a not for profit. Initially thought we had some good weaves and people, different thinking, different thought processes, and people kind of fell off. But I'm still trucking, right? And now I feel like where we are right now, we're officially a not for profit. We have a board.
Excellent.
Um,
Good.
we uh, are making sure that we're having our monthly meetings, recording
Good.
them, agenda, like it's and having the people who are surrounded by me, if for nothing else, is keeping me on track because I know I think big and they're way more meticulous than I
Obviously.
am. So they're able to kind of, all right, Cheryl, let's kind of let's get back on track. Oh, okay, you're right. Sorry, too big. I got it. So I think I'm in a better we spot. And I also just have to find more we's, right?
Mm.
So I believe that we are on the right path to doing so. So we have, like I said, a big event in March.
What's the event?
Um,
And tell us a little bit about the not for profit first of all, and then yeah, about the event and what have you.
So the not for profit came from my experiences being a black athlete in a predominantly white male uh, affluent sport, right?
Yeah.
So I've definitely struggled throughout my career in trying to fit in and realizing I really don't fit in a multitude of ways, whether it's culturally, whether it's just beliefs, it's just multifaceted, different types of levels and how to kind of maneuver through the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I dealt with it, but it was tough, but I dealt with it. COVID hit, and all the things that you think people are thinking or truly feel that their underlying values are, you kind of push it off while the things are going, but it's there, but you're like, all of it came out in COVID. So most of the people that I thought, or the groups I thought were not too keen on people like me, or not even people like me, or um, less privileged, I guess, or different other than, um, all of their colors came out during COVID, and it was all for public to see. Facebook, Twitter, you name it, they were on it, and it just enraged me. That's where karate change came from. I was like, I have to do something, and so I was speaking to one of my other teammates, Sakura Kokomai, who
Mm-hmm.
happened to be one of the kata athletes that went to the Olympics, which was fantastic, right? So,
Yes.
and we were just trying to figure out. We had a conversation. It was like, what can we do? What should we do? And we just happened to both be on a USOPC, United States Olympic Paralympic Committee
Mm-hmm.
meeting, discussing Black Lives Matter and what's specifically happening because the president at the time, and I didn't even realize this, the president at the time did not handle Black Lives Matter in a way that would be respectful to those athletes that happened to see whatever the person wrote or posted or whatever it was. And so, um, with that, they did a very, very good job. They had like an open forum, and black athletes got to really express, one, how they felt the USOPC handled it, their
Mm.
specific experience. And I was like,
Mm.
wow, because they were saying I was like, yeah, me too. Like it was just wonderful to kind of feel a sense of acknowledgement that you're not crazy, right?
Mm.
Though sometimes you're made to feel that way in certain environments, right? So um it just was a great forum. And I was like, okay, well, what can we do, right? So spoke to Sakura, and I was like, well, what do you think? And so let's go to the USOPC, let's go to USA Karate, and it wasn't nothing was happening.
Mm. Mm.
So if nothing is happening, well then I feel like we should do our own thing. And then we came up with the name Karate for Change. And then I think like the Olympics kind of started because she was definitely going. I was still
Yes.
trying to. I was still on the journey to see if I can get there.
Yeah.
So she, kind of
Sakura.
the Sakura, yeah. Sakura
Yeah.
decided to, focus on training and making sure she's able to make it, which definitely made sense. I mean, but during the time period, we definitely made, some conversations. They're all on YouTube. The Black experience, the female experience. We even got some international Black athletes to discuss how they feel
Very
about
cool.
being Black in karate.
Yes.
Um, we got the African experience. So we got a lot of different conversations going on, which was absolutely great. And it was
Yeah.
COVID, so there was nobody really kind of meeting and you know, kind of having like a membership, right? So once COVID kind of died down, I felt, and in our original group, kind of like they fell off, and
Yeah.
that's fine. Things kind of emerge or kind of change in moving forward.
Right.
I was like this. I feel like we need to be doing more, like actually physically doing stuff because people were. I say people weren't doing anything. There were definitely what do you call it when you um, protests. There were definitely protests, and I wasn't too comfortable doing the protests at the time, especially after certain protests. People ended up dying because you got crazy people running people over or people getting shot. It was kind of crazy. So I was like, I don't know if I can do that. So, but I would, constantly still be involved and kept up to date as to what was happening. But once COVID kind of died down, I was like, I think it's important to physically do something, get out in the community, show people that we're there, share with people how and what we are. So I was
We
finding
we is the
karate for change,
got it.
right? And so with that, I found a lot of fairs, street fairs to go to, mostly in New Rochelle. And it ended up working out well because it worked out with my the Cheryl Murphy Sport Karate Academy that I wanted to get out there as well. Where um, we are teaching at the YMCA. We're holding our classes at the YMCA, but it's still Cheryl Murphy Sport Karate Academy. I mean, side note to that, we were trying to find our own place during COVID, but it ended up being like crazy. So it's like, let's just
Mm.
start small. I came
Mm.
from the YMCA. My
Mm.
instructor, my first instructor, still to this day, my instructor from the YMCA, of course, on the YMCA in Queens. So this kind of came full circle. I'm like, oh, the YMCA. So we're there too. So anytime we would do a street fair, it would be Karate for Change as well as Cheryl Murphy SKA. So we were able to do that as well. And we just, again, got the word out. We're able to just uh, describe our purpose. And it really is to make karate more equitable. It's to give a voice to those who are often unheard,
Excellent.
whether it is within karate or not. It's really important to be heard in this crazy world. I mean, even now, like with the Iranian protests that are happening, we had, I believe, one athlete that was one of the people who were executed, and nobody's really saying anything. So one of my other fellow athletes
Mm.
that I know, he's from England.
Yeah.
Alton Brown had just uh, messaged me. Cheryl, have
Mm.
you heard anything? Because this athlete just got executed with the rest of the other people who were, I guess, on that list, and
Good
nobody's
Lord.
really saying anything. Mind you, when Ukraine had the issue, it
Mm.
was all let's come together, all let's do this, all let's and nothing was happening. And
Right.
so one of the coaches who happens to be Iranian, she's a Canadian coach, was an
Mm.
athlete. We actually competed against each other, and she had shared like before he got executed. had shared, like, can you post this? Of course, we'll post it. And then Alton comes to me. I'm not sure if he got executed this week or last week, but had come to me and said, "Is there anything happening?" I was like, "Oh, no, I don't know," because not seeing the Canadian coach, um, or past Canadian coach, had posted before he died. Can
Mm.
we share, this information or whatever? So there's definitely discrepancies and differences
Yeah.
in what is considered to be important. I mean,
Yeah.
even Sakura, again, at the time was the only Olympian from U.S. Karate Olympian from U.S. that was official as of yet. She experienced racism because she's Asian, so she
Right.
was in the
Right.
park training.
Yep.
Somebody came up to her and started, saying all kinds of everything about Asians, and again, COVID heavy, like it was everything.
Yeah.
USA Karate really didn't do anything. WKF, World Karate Federation, who we are under, really didn't say anything. Not
Mm.
until like there was pressure from other athletes and
Mm.
other supporters of her.
Yeah.
She was on the news. It was crazy. And then, oh, sorry, you went through that. We're behind you. Like it was just like an afterthought. And
Right.
so it's quite frustrating. The All Lives Matter versus Black Lives Matter. That whole,
Sure.
like, that was a catastrophe too. So all that being said, with those types of experiences, Karate for Change
Yeah.
came from that. And so we're trying to now have this event, the all female uh, training conference.
Great.
Again, trying to be more active, physically active in support.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have a whole weekend of empowerment, a whole
Wonderful.
weekend of female trainers, female athletes, and then we'll have one session where it'll be male and female athletes, but being all trained by female trainers.
That's great.
Um, so I just think that, you know, and us again being more into the community, trying to help, we're trying to raise funds in hopes that long term we're able to provide resources that I wasn't able to have or couldn't afford to have when I was competing. So that's where we
How
are.
can so you so how can people help out? How can people contribute, help raise funds, lend a hand, what have you? Is there a
Um,
website or anything of that
yes.
nature, Facebook page, etc.?
So it's karateforchange .org is the website. Karate for Change Inc. Um, for Venmo, Cash App. We do have the event. It's really open to everyone. I was just speaking to one of the trainers, and she asked me, was like, "Is it just going to be karate people?" And I was like, "As of right now, yes, but." One of the board members happens to be very dance heavy. I've known her for since elementary school, maybe before that, but
Oh, nice. Very cool.
and she, was talking to like her dance community and was saying we're
Mm.
doing this, and
Mm.
who knows, maybe there may be some dancers that are there too,
That's great.
and that would be a good cross, you know, um, sport or art, I'll say,
Absolutely. Yep.
in having them come. But then we're having a forum as well, being able to talk about women issues, women topics,
Yeah.
in adversity, obstacles. Um, so we're going to be doing that as well. So we're just going to have a whole weekend of just being empowered by women, empowered to women and girls, females, who runs the world, girl. Like it's a whole thing. So
Yeah.
we're excited.
Do y'all have any tentative dates or locations or kind of anything you're
Right.
solidified
So
yet? Or
it's from March 2nd to March 5th. March
okay.
2nd, registration starts at 4:30. Classes start around 5:36. And then we'll have three sparring sessions, three kata or form sessions, and then Friday is all day of again same kumite, which is sparring, and then kata, which is form.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll have lunch. Lunch is going to be on us. And then we're going to have another afternoon training. And then we'll also have a forum that day. Still trying to figure out whether it's going to be during lunchtime or it's going to be during dinner. Also on
Mm.
us, we're going to provide dinner as well.
Mm.
And then there's a competition on Saturday. that will be in the city as well. So for us, the address is going to be 181 West 135th Street in Harlem, New York.
Hmm.
And the tournament is going to be in the city as well. City College, I believe it is. It's going to be a city college.
Nice.
That
Nice.
information is also on the website. And then we're
Yep.
going to have another day of training on Sunday. Well, half a
And
day of training.
you and Sakura are going to be training as well as other folks, correct? Other women, correct?
Oh, I am not going to be
Okay.
teaching. I'm just
Okay.
hosting. It's so much
Yeah.
funny because everybody keeps asking me. No, I am not going to be. Though I say that, and then I'm going to be like, all right, guys, just do it like this, But I'm hopefully going to be on the sidelines, allowing all the attention to be on the trainers, which they deserve the attention.
Bring your gi just in
Um,
case.
I know, yeah. So Sakura will definitely be one of the teachers.
Nice.
Sandy Scordo, who is a Shotokan
Nice.
a competitor from France. She's going to be there. Sasha Rodriguez, who's from the States but represents Dominican Republic. She's going to be teaching as well. Then we have Elisa Al, who's a three-time world champion, who now is also the chairwoman of USA Karate.
Excellent.
Um, and then we're going to have Trinity, who is um, current vice champion. I keep
Nice.
speaking in like European terms, but it's second place, right?
Right.
For the world championships, just the most recent one. And then we have Ashley Davis, who is also on the women's team in
Mm.
2016 to get the
Mm.
bronze medal. She's also a
Holy
Pan American
smokes! So
champion
just
too. So
world caliber training. Huh?
world caliber, and it's $120, right? It's $120 for the weekend.
Yeah.
I've seen seminars for like 200-300 for lesser days with lesser caliber people, and this is not to
Right.
take away from what they do know,
It is
but
what
we're
it is,
trying to
though.
make it
You are
right.
who
Well, that
y'all
is
are who
true,
y'all are.
right?
Yeah.
I feel that it makes it more equitable. It
Mm.
makes it more equitable, and certain people who may not have the funds that would be able to travel to
Mm.
whatever their let's say they do a seminar
Yeah.
or they want to do a one-to-one, they're not going to be able to afford that. So
Yeah.
we try to make it minimal.
Mm.
We also are saying that if you can't afford it, just let us know. We will try to figure something out, which is why we're
Yeah.
doing the fundraising so that we're able to
Yes.
offset um, some of the expenses. And not for nothing, the women that are coming out are this is of their own time. The
Mm.
only thing that we're taking care of is to make sure they get here.
Yeah.
But they're this is them volunteering their time to the purpose of what we're trying to do, and I am forever
That's
grateful
great.
to all of them for doing it.
Good.
So and it's people in the back end too that are helping the women on the board, Nikki and Christina,
Mm.
the women who are coming out for the forum.
Mm.
I have Miss Patience helping too. So it's definitely a group effort, and I'm
Good. Yeah.
forever grateful. And that right now is my we.
Very nice. Good. Once again, the handle, the website, and the Facebook page where people can go to make a donation, find information, just check it out.
Karateforchange.org is the website, and then you can go to Facebook as Karate for Change. Instagram is Karate for Change, and then we have Venmo and Cash App Karate for Change Inc. So
Awesome.
we are
Karate
there.
for
Email
change.
address Karate for Change at gmail.com. So just Karate for Change, Karate for Change. If anything, you can think about KFC. I almost was going to use that handle, but I didn't want to get any kind of copyright issues. But I'm just saying, just to remember KFC.
I like it. Nice. And you also mentioned that you started your own karate training forum, Cheryl K. Murphy.
Oh, Cheryl, yes, Cheryl Murphy Sports Karate Academy. So,
Mm.
I've always, even in the midst of me competing, I've always trained people. As I was coming up, I had juniors behind me, and then me just constantly competing and training. I would help other athletes out as well. I am a certified coach under the WKF. So I definitely always felt, and I was trained and taught that since I was with my instructor. This is what came from my dojo, was that you always give back, and
Mm.
so I always love. Oh, I keep doing that. Sorry.
You're good.
Um, I always love sharing my experiences because, again,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that necessarily. I had to go out consistently and find
Mm,
my training in order to get
mm,
better and get better and get better. So I always love sharing my experiences with whomever, really, whoever's willing to learn,
mm-hmm.
who's willing to listen. And so that is Cheryl Murphy, SKA.com,
Yeah.
and you can find us on there as well. And it's the at gmail.com, Cheryl Murphy SKA at gmail.com, Cheryl Murphy SKAIG.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to build from that as well.
Yeah. And that is individual karate lessons and what have you, training, etc.
Right. So there's group. So group training is at the YMCA, New
Mm-hmm.
Rochelle YMCA,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Thursdays at 6, Saturday at 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock. So 10 a.m.
Okay.
is the kids class. six
Mm,
o'clock on Thursdays is the kids class. Excuse me. And then you have at 11 a.m. you have the teens and adults on Saturday, and we're trying to build that too, so we can have more people. Like
mm-hmm.
I said, with the group that I have now, there's a couple. I just want to, get their feet wet with competing. And we're going to start having some training, some extra training classes as well, in getting their feet wet and kind of
And you are
exposing
the
them
one
to that.
who's training and coaching them, correct?
Correct? Yeah.
So yet again, world caliber instruction
Yes.
right there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Mm,
it's great to just see to be able to see it and give that instruction and experience out. I mean, it again, my instructor has always told us to give back. Like even when I would
mm.
go out
Good.
and train,
Yeah.
my sensei said you can go ahead and just make sure you come back and give to our students, and that's exactly what I did, which was how we were able to build so many champions, behind me. So it was pretty
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah. What an opportunity for anyone who's in the New York area. That's just phenomenal that they have access to that if they want to take
Hmm.
advantage of that. So good for
Yeah,
you for
yeah.
offering that, Cheryl. That's
Oh,
wonderful.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we
And
have
yet
virtual
again,
too. Yeah, and just sorry, we have
mhm,
virtual too. So if you
mhm.
want to get anything, if you're not in New York and you just want to get some extra training in, we're more than willing to do classes virtually as well,
Awesome. Right. So now your reach is outside of New York, nationally and internationally, huh?
nationally and internationally. Hopefully,
Good for you.
trying to
That's
take
great.
over the world little by little, little bit.
Mm-hmm. I figured so.
And then I have a virtual program as well. So. Mhm.
Cool. Your virtual program. So you are teaching via webcam, huh?
I am, and they just took their test, and I have three purple belts, um, a a blue belt, and a white belt. I believe that's it. Yeah, and so they've been sticking it out too since the beginning. Since I believe it must have been 2021 or the end of 2020 that I initially started the virtual program,
Mm.
and it's like the originals are still there. I got maybe one new person, but everybody else is been since the beginning, so it's been pretty cool.
That's crazy. So you started virtual karate during COVID, huh?
Mhm. Yeah.
A little bit different
Yeah.
than teaching live.
A little bit different than
Yeah.
teaching live, and let me
Yeah.
tell you, and these kids they're awesome kids, which is kind of interesting. So I'll ask them, I'm like, Miss Johnson, how do I do? And then she'll just be like, and she'll just do it, and it won't even be like, well, how come you don't know? They'll just do it and fix this and touch that and teach me how to do this. I didn't know how to do the break rooms. It
Yeah.
was it was quite interesting. I was like, Miss Johnson, help me how to do a break room, and she's like, okay, do this, this, and then now I know how to do break rooms.
Uh, so you obviously stay busy. You keep yourself busy, and you also are a published author, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yes, yes. And don't kill me because I don't have the book. So,
It's okay.
yeah. So I did, and that was dedicated to my mom. My mom was an avid reader. I came from a family of who found it to be important to have an education.
Hmm.
And so, like I said, from elementary school, I knew I was going. Probably before that, I knew I was going to college. and I knew it was going to be at HBCU, just a matter of where. And that's exactly what I did. I went to an HBCU, Morgan State University, and then after that, I graduated from LIU with my master's. So education was extremely, extremely important. Reading was extremely, extremely important. And so this book came about from one of my associates from college who was a publisher, and he said, I like your story. I see what you're posting. I kept posting stuff on Facebook. I like what you're posting. Would you like to write a children's book? I mean, sure. Why not? And so we were able to come up with Cheryl Murphy's Lessons for Life. And it's about all the life lessons that I've been all not all, but a lot of the life lessons that I've learned through karate, through competing, dedication, training, eating well,
Mm.
uh, wanting to do well and having to put the work in.
Yeah.
So it's all those different things that I learned as a competitor, and then just making it into having to study. If you want to do well in school, you're going to have to study. If you're struggling, you have to work hard.
Mm.
That's just a matter of fact. Some people can read one thing and do well on a test. Other people may have to read it over and over again in order to do well on a test. So it does really depend on
Mm.
what's specifically happening, and I think that's important to really get across to kids. You're not going to be like everybody, nor should you expect to be,
Mm.
and things are going to be easier for other people that they won't be for you. And that's me. Like I had to put a lot of work in, not even just as a person. I had
Right.
to play catch up, but being a black female,
Mm-hmm.
hair looks like this,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, what's considered to be pretty and not pretty, like all of that came into play. So I couldn't just
Mm.
be as good as, I had
Mm.
to be better than. And if that didn't work,
Mm.
you had to find another way to get around it. And so one of the
Mm.
things that we did, because there was a lot of there's a lot of politics, a lot of favoritism with all sports. It shouldn't be, but okay, if we just make that as a matter of fact, what are you going to
Yeah.
do about it? Do you
Yep.
constantly keep, beating and or hitting a brick wall, and it's the
Mm.
same type of thing, or do you work
Mm.
your way around it? So my sensei would say to me, like, "Are you here to beat this person, or are you
Mm.
here to get medals? Are you here to get better? Are you here to
Mm.
make the team? Are you here, like, what are you here for?" And it was
Mm.
to get medals, it was to get the experience, it was to get more
Mm.
exposure. And so we went another route, and that's what allowed me not to have to deal with that part of it. Like you can't necessarily control this. You can
Right.
control how you succeed. It
Mm.
just may have to be a different way. And
Mm.
that really, in saying that, man, I forget the name of the movie, but it was the Serena King King Richard. It was King
Mm.
Richard, and he made a pretty close example to what my experience was, in the fact that there was one scene where um, Serena Venus, when Venus, where her coach was trying to tell her that she has to be like this person and she has to be like this person, and you see what they did, you got to do the same thing.
Mm.
And Mr. Richard was like, nope, she does not, nor can she do what they do. She can't.
Mm.
She can't do that. That is not her journey. She
Mm.
has to do it like this. And I'm
Mm.
like, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's how I felt. I had to have my own journey in being successful, because I could not do what they did. I didn't have the funds for it. I didn't have the
Yes.
resources for it, and
Correct.
resources in so many different ways. I didn't have a sports masseuse. I didn't have a PT person to go to. I didn't have a nutritionist. I had to figure it out on my own. So even in that, my progression was slower, though
Mm.
I figured it out. But my progression was slower. And then even when I was at the top, it was a hit or miss, because I didn't have those certain things.
It was a hit or
So
miss.
hit or miss in being consistent. Like, it was a hit, I would do well. Then the miss, I would do horribly,
Gotcha.
or I would just make it. Like, when I came back for the last time for one of my retirements, right? I would, just off the bat, I got fifth, seventh. and I got two fifths and a seventh or something like that. I was just like right there. I kept getting right there, but couldn't get
Mm,
over.
mm,
And why? I had to figure it out on my own because I had to figure it out on my own,
yeah.
and couldn't for the most part. But I mean, I did well in like other tournaments. I did okay.
Hmm.
Only I think only because of my experience, I was
Yes.
able to get over. But when it came down to like really being challenged,
Yeah.
I'd be right there, but just couldn't get over that hump.
Mm,
So
so close.
yeah, I know, and that's what it was. I was so close. I needed to
Mm,
get 12
mm,
to be able to go to the Olympic qualifier, and
mm,
I was just shy of it. It was
mm,
between me and this other, one of my other teammates,
mm.
and then the whole political thing happened, and yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah,
Right.
yeah. So yeah,
Yet another accomplishment of yours is, didn't you serve on as one of the board members on one of the karate?
I did serve on the board. I think it was for like 10 years. Um, Only me, black and female,
Mm-hmm.
for that 10-year period,
And
and
what
it
were
was
the
that.
rest of the board members? The rest of the board members were not black and female, so
No, they
yeah.
were white,
Mm-hmm.
male.
Mm-hmm.
They may have been a Persian, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, what that person specifically identified as is a different story.
Right.
And most were affluent. So regardless
Right.
of the fact that he could have been Persian, he was affluent.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so it was me kind of trying to again maneuver in saying certain things where it wasn't so much, even though I'm sure it was, but it wasn't so much where the black girl is saying something now.
Mm.
So you know, so there was definitely um, occasions where um, those types of topics, though not directly, um, those types of topics did come up, and being able to figure out how to say it where
Mm.
they would retrieve the information, and so and then other times it would be me and being abrupt and blunt.
Yeah.
But other times, definitely trying to figure out how to say certain things where they would retrieve the information.
Sure. Yeah. Got it. Well, yeah. Yet another accolade, not 1 year, but a decade on the
A
US
decade.
WKF, USKF,
USA, yeah, USA Karate.
USA,
It
yeah,
was
USA Karate. Yeah.
USA NKF then, but now they've
Yep.
changed their brand to USA Karate. Yep. And again, I would sometimes have to travel 45 minutes to an hour to
Good
train
Lord. Each
there
way.
and back each
Yeah.
way. With sometimes with the bad car, and that's what I mean. Like I would drive myself. It wasn't somebody driving me. So if I had to work and then
Mm.
drive,
Mm.
then I had to get up, get out, and then train, and then drive
Yeah.
myself back, then get up the next day.
Right.
I'd be stuck on highways sometimes when my car broke down.
Yeah.
I remember one year my car was leaking oil the day before I was about to go travel. Though I did accomplish a lot, if I would have
Mm.
had the same type of resources,
Yes.
I I kid you not, I would have been a world champion
Yep.
individually. Like I have definitely world titles, but specifically with the WKF, individual world champion, and I would have been an Olympian. I have no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
100% agree.
yeah, so that's what this is what happens. So that's why again, Karate for Change was built. I want to be able to provide those types of things. So.
Good. That's awesome. It's a phenomenal mission. We're kind of starting to close down. So, curious to
Hmm.
have any advice for anyone out there in any capacity, any future Cheryl Murphys, or just everyday wisdom, anything you'd want to leave your great great granddaughter as words to live by,
Mm,
etc.
yeah, I would say to. Hmm, I would definitely say make your own history. Make your own history. Um, do not shy away from what you feel is the right thing to do. Do not shy away from what you feel is the best thing to do, regardless of what other people may be hinting to you, actually outright telling you that whatever you're thinking is crazy or it's too much or it's too big or anything like that. You stick to what you believe is the right thing to do, as long as it is the right thing to do. So, yeah,
Excellent. Make your own history.
make your own history.
Good stuff. Once again, where can people find you online?
You can find Cheryl K. Murphy on Facebook, Cheryl Murphy Karate on Instagram. You can find Karate for Change on Instagram, Facebook, and karateforchange.org is the website. Cheryl Murphy Sport Karate Academy or Cheryl Murphy SKA .com. We're online there as well. And also Instagram.
And then also on Amazon as well.
Correct. You will find Cheryl Murphy Lessons for Life on Amazon. So buy the book. The illustrations alone are phenomenal. So, but the stories are great too.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your time today. You're so inspirational, Cheryl. It's an absolute pleasure knowing you both as a professional athlete and as a friend. And I really do
Yeah.
appreciate your time and giving us so much wisdom and what have you, and sharing your life mission with us and everything you've accomplished. And you're really inspirational. You're going to be an inspiration for a lot of folks out there for decades to come.
Well, thank you so much for including me on your endeavor in what you're trying to accomplish. So I definitely appreciate you thinking of me to do it and having me be able to share my experiences and share what I'm trying to accomplish and just including me on that. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Cheryl. I'll talk
All
to you
right.
soon.
Okay, great.